We are back with yet another in-between session of Product Like It's Friday, even though it's Thursday. And we're going to continue where we left off. And that was me trying to refactor, play around with the Sequelize library. I was using version 6 with TypeScript, ran into certain issues, some of them mine, some of them from the library. I wanted to give version 7, which is an alpha, a chance. But that did not work out well with SQLite. I guess the alpha version isn't quite ready to be used and tested with SQLite at the very least. And so I decided to switch to Keasley. And that's where I'm at. I'm halfway through, so I haven't completed the entire refactoring. And I want to take some time today to continue from there. Having that said, Mary also wanted to stream some designing aspects today, and they'll probably be about in an hour or so. And when she's ready, we'll switch over. If I finish sooner, I doubt that'll be the case, but if I finish sooner, we might stream again. But she might join midstream, and then she can guide the rest of the session after she joins. I'll share my screen. And here is where we were in the app as we left off. So let me get back into the code. I was playing around with the code about inserting using Keasley. I had created the schema for all my models, converted all of them, so we're good over there. And the insertion worked with sort of inserting the game first, getting the ID, and then multi-inserting the players into the database. So that is functional, and I'm happy with that portion. Let's quickly go, the code's right here for that. And I'm starting to do some nicer things. For example, I'm using a transaction to make all of this work. I might still not go too deep with these things, but we'll take it step by step. So now I want to get back here and take a look at how selects work and fetch the game and fetch the people. I'm trying to see if they have any sense of like associations. And so, pets, persons. Yeah, I mean, there's some accounting for that, but for our purposes, again, it's not important to, try and get everything done in a single query. This is a very simple application. 2 simple queries will do. So the goal here is, because we have gone one level lower from an ORM, we're still using a library to interface with the database, but we're not using a full-fledged ORM. So I don't necessarily want to put the extra effort into, doing things more complicated than they need to be. So we'll take it from there. So select from database name, selecting the properties. Now this is a single column, multiple columns. Do they have anything for all columns? Yep. Select all, and that's where I'll start with a select all. I don't have to go fancy right now. There's no points for optimization at this stage. So select from games, select all, execute, and then where, simple where clause. We'll do the where ID business. Just make sure we're on SQLite here. And quickly take a look at what other options they have available. Or object filter. It's like this and this. But I guess that should be the equivalent of sort of this and this. So let's get started. Back here with the find, I can pass an ID, and then let's just start by looking for the game. I can actually just get rid of this bit of code here. And let me just review. So DB transaction, DB select from. Perfect. I'll start. over here, const game equals await_db select from games, where ID perfect, select all and execute take first, and we'll just return the game here. And now instead of dealing with an ORM model, a class right out of the database selects, we're dealing with just a POJO, plain old JavaScript object. And here, because my last game ID was 1, I should be able to find 1. Let's get find. And that gives me that. And here, after I've done this, I can go ahead and get the players as well for this game. And that looks good to me. And I can prep this just like I have in the insert. And that's a super simplified version of the data I need to insert and the data I need to retrieve. Let's do an update as well. And that way I have examples of all of those. Single row, simple value. We use set. Got it. I wonder what we can change. So let's just modify one of the players. So here I'll say player is, let's see if this get first player. Let's see if this does it. Yeah, so execute take first will do the job for me. Let's just double check and make sure that that works properly and does what I expect it to. We'll update. And that gets the first player, whomever that is. Sure, we can do that. And then let's update the player and the value I want to update. Actually, I shouldn't be going here. I should be going to my types file and looking at the player table. And maybe I could just modify the name of the first player. And just look at the code. Await update table. Got it. And again, I'll slowly get used to this over time. And execute take first probably doesn't return the value. That's fine. Let's see if we can do something like updated player, and let's see if the AI assists me in finishing that. Yep, set, and we want to set just the name. Yeah, updated player is good. Okay. And I actually don't want the rest of this. I can just close that up. Where player ID, returning all, and execute take first. And now I can return my updated player. And that updated player should have the updated player name. And let's update. First try. Okay, so that works. Let's get rid of these comments. And otherwise, I feel like I'm ready to commit where I am. And this here would be the Keasley config file. I didn't commit any of the Keasley code. I'm not going to review this stuff. I'm just going to add it. My old migrations, I won't add yet. The types file I will add, and my Keasley environment file. I still haven't, gotten these values from a config file, but that'll come later as we go. So we got a lot unstaged. So let's see. I've added. Let me just get rid of that. Let's get okay. I have added better SQLite 3, Keasley, and I have not removed SQLize yet. So we'll do that in the next stage, perhaps. So that's fairly simple. Add. These are deletes of my old migration files. So goodbye to that. And then the database task file where I did all this testing. I can actually get rid of this here. And the rest looks good. And we could say first step in switching to Keesley. Okay, great. Now I need to go back into the game itself, into the app code, and modify it as we go. So let me just take a look at the server folder where I still have my model files from SQLite. So we'll get rid of these. What I'll probably do is treat these as modules that have just export a bunch of functions that I'll use throughout the app. And some of that code I'll just copy from my task file. All right. Just getting my mind in order here. And let's take a look. Yeah, I guess it's just a matter of where I'm calling game on the server side. And that's really just in the routers. There's nowhere else that's happening. So let's get into the router index file and let's go through these procedures one by one and get the fixes in. Right, so I will import DB, not from this, but from environment Keesley. Let's just make sure that that is in fact what I'm exporting. Yep. And hopefully this will give the AI an indication that I'm trying to switch to Keesley. I'll even comment this code, get down here and say, look at that. It seems to be doing something relevant, but I guess yeah, let's get that in. And here, for some reason, it's getting the players, but all I want to do is return the turn. Get the turn based on the game ID, yes, based on the round number, and based on the number. Perfect. Next, we're creating the game with the player. So this is the code that I had just written. And actually, I'm just wondering how I should go about doing this. So I'll leave the turn here, but I will probably keep this code since it's a bit more deeper. This code will go inside the game module in my models folder. So I will want something like const game is equal to await create game with players, and then I guess I don't have to pass in anything about the game itself. I just need to pass in the players, and the rest should work fine. If not, game throw, and then I can just return game, and the rest of this can just be commented out for now, and I will just use it for reference if necessary. And then I can go ahead and create my create game with players function in my game module. And there's nothing special here that needs to be dealt with. So all of this is going to go away, and export function create game with players. And my type here, players are actually going to be typed as insert player insert, I believe. So players player insert array, and that's my exported function to begin, and then I can reference my database task code from the insert here. I could probably just copy all of that actually, and let's fix this. Yeah, all of these will be done, and then let's fix that. Great. Yeah, insert game, defaulting to 1-1, although it's questionable that we still need these being stored here. And then players are being passed in, so that's fine. Remapping these looks good to me. Can ignore this, and the game object we return will have players in it. And so let's see how this is typed. In this type, I'm seeing players, but I'm not seeing any. There we go. So there are the game details with the 4 more, and then just got hidden. But this is a modified version of the game object, and the typing is kind of done auto-magically. So the type of this should be, I thought it would be like game specifically, but it seems like it's not referencing the game object here or the game type here. It's just straight up giving me a plain old type. And I'm comfortable with that. I don't have to juggle anything out here. And the result comes through. And if it throws something, it throws something. And I'm not handling that in the procedure, but I'm okay with that for now. And so now we have refactored the code from the procedure into this module, and we can import it here. This I did not expect would throw an issue, because these types ought to match, but there might be cases where it's expecting something different. So let's just, and these are like, this is a fair bit challenging to read. Is not assignable to type this. So this type, my very simple input, is not assignable to type number game ID. So game ID seems to be required here in the input, but I don't have a game ID just yet. That's fine. So maybe I can omit the game ID. I'm just being verbose here for autocomplete purposes, or AI autocomplete purposes. Let's give this a shot again. There's more stuff here, but it is really, it's not assignable to type. So it seems like it's still, let me just check this. It is omit. What if I took this type out of here, put it in my types file, player insert, and we'll export it. And I might change the name, that's fine. And I'll also import it here in the router file itself. And what I don't know is if I can directly pass a Zod type into if I can directly like give it a I don't think I could create a Zod object with a type. So let's see if there's some marriage of Keasley and Zod. There's a search here. So let's see. Seems like there isn't. I I would have just liked to have said, hey, players are this type. But let's just review again what this is. So player insert is, it needs a number. It needs, so I will have to omit quite a bit. And so all I'm getting is name. So player insert, we're going to say just with name. And then let's see what this does. So it is trying to omit everything else. And that's kind of what I want. I want to yeah. And let's see what this type looks like now. And that's just the generated ID, the name, the icon, the adjective. A bit verbose for what I need, but like I'm fine with that. And just being explicit here. And then here, player insert with name, and that's imported, and I can just remove that. And now let's go back to our router file and see whether the typing is copacetic. And seems like it is. Nope, seems like it isn't. We were so close, I feel. Property ID is missing in the type. So additionally, I don't want ID. I use player table here, not player insert. So this should just be player insert. And now I expect ID to not be necessarily defined, and that's been picked up here. And now we are truly set for this function. And create player, all that's doing is, yeah. So I can go all the way up here and get rid of everything and have a super simple procedure here, having all that code removed. And so maybe that's what I'll do for now, is if it's a straightforward select, I'll keep it here. If it's a more involved select, or if it's a more involved create, I'll send it to the module file. Or I'll do a mix and match. I mean, you know, why can't I do const game equals await find game by ID, like that. And then let's split up here and go back to the game, and it doesn't do what I want it to. Function get game with get game by ID, find game. Oops, find game by ID, and we'll just return the players. I mean, not a big deal. Let's just quickly eyeball this code. We want to order here by the number. So let me take a look at select and ordering here. Examples, select. Order. You just search. Order by. Just trying to find an example of usage. I have not seen it yet. Let's try one more time. Order by. No, it just went to the first one, but yeah, rarely would think that there was an example here. That's fine. Let's just get lucky. Oops. Okay. So we're getting the players ordered by the number. And really, that's how it should be all the other times as well. So I'm just trying to think quickly whether I need to change anything, or, you know, even though I'm doing returning all, would it be wiser to simply return this here? And theoretically, we don't need player insertions, and we do not need returning all. So we just simply insert and execute and use this code so that we're getting a consistent return all the time. And now I can just get rid of this and return game. All right, super simple code, which honestly, it was also fairly simple with Sequelize, just that it didn't manage its relations that has many, belongs to out of the box with TypeScript in the way that maybe I was expecting. And I could have used the simple way with Sequelize as well, but then why am I using Sequelize if I can't sort of leverage these includes and all that business? What's the point? Okay, so I can reuse this find game by ID here, get the game. Great, and then here I'm getting the last turn, and I feel like this can be its own function, right? So here we can get into export function get find latest turn by game ID. I'll just leave that there and just work on, and then just compare here, select from turns where game ID is equal to this. Yes, round number and round number. So we're going to want that. And here, maybe I'm feeling like doing something like this. Game ID, round number, and I know I'm mixing types, so let me just, yeah, I'm mixing types. That's fine. Or I'm mixing cases again, and that's too bad. And both those are required. And I'm just doing this as things change. I might want to work with them in different ways. And now I do want a .where for the round number as well. And order by number descending, which makes me wonder whether I did the proper thing. Descending is not what I want here. I want ascending, right? I want one to be first and it needs to ascend. Okay, so let's go back here and sorry, what did I just do? Here is where I do want descending because I want the largest one, right? And here is where I want ascending, and let's be explicit because I actually don't know off the top of my head what it does by default. So descending, select all, take first. And we're doing a straight up return. And just for my own purposes, I'm just going to do this for potential debugging purposes that I might have to do. Okay, so that's the turn, and I can do const turn, const last turn is equal to no, await, find latest turn, and pass in these details. I could probably just deconstructed this object here, the input or passed in dot input directly, but I'm happy to be explicit. This comment is still relevant. And yeah, we're just getting the question here, so we'll keep that, of course. This is all good. That looks good to me. And then next player is being found here this way. I'm okay with that. We don't need to change any code there. And then we'll have create turn. And this is just taking in the same info and the question and the answer. And maybe later, I'm okay just keeping it here for now, but maybe later this is also somewhere else and we generate the question and the answer depending on, hey, Keith's classes, thank you for joining at 4 o'clock in the morning, 4 a.m. Is that correct? In India? Where in India are you? Okay, so we are rewriting SQLized code into Keasley code and also refactoring it into different files as well at the same time. So the idea being that these are generated based on the game's information. Like if a game is a math game of level maybe grade 5, then we're generating grade 5 math questions as we create the turn. The turn creation knows what questions to generate and how. But for now, this is fine. So I want to create a turn. So export async function, not find turn, but create turn. And does it know what to do? That's a bit much. So number, I'll need to pass it as well. So I'll need to pass it the number. I'll need to pass it the question answer. And what I don't need to pass it is, yeah, I got to pretty much pass it everything. Fine, no problem. We'll just live with that. Yeah, you're from Rajasthan. Okay, so const turn. And then we just return the turn. All we're doing is returning the turn here. Okay, I don't know why I'm pausing so much. I'm a little apprehensive, I guess. So I'm just gonna write this and await create turn. And then maybe this knows. I'm just gonna copy this whole thing and hope for the best. And we'll deal with any sort of inner refactoring later. Why do all this work right now? And let's go ahead and get create turn. And there's a few things missing here. So answer state, does it know? It doesn't. Sure, and I don't know whether, oh, this is just really, the type here is just, and my mind didn't go here because I'm not used to this format, but this is just a turn insert, right? Game ID, player ID, number, question, and all of this is technically pending. So I should be able to do this. Turn insert. Turn insert. Let's get that. And then this here, I should just be able to do this. And returning all execute tick first. We're getting back the turn we just created. And let's look back in the router to see that this makes sense. create turn. This is just accepted it. It works. So my types here were useful and simplified. The unfortunate thing is none of this is tested. And now the question is, should I have done some TDD business and like, no, I should not have. I am comfortable not having done that. This is fine turn. So, and up here, where I was doing get turn, so or fine turn, since that's what I've named everything. And maybe, you know, if I don't like it, I'll probably change the naming conventions later. But now it does make sense that we get this information from, or we refactor this, because I'm fetching by, it seems, the exact same variables. So yeah, fine turn coming up. Turn.ts, and we'll go export sync fine turn, not by ID, but we'll just do a fine turn and let it figure it out. Nope. There's some things it doesn't like here. Is it that I did this? The reason I say it doesn't like something here is because it's not auto formatting my code. That's fine. Let's accept this, and that, and just that, and no, it still doesn't want to. Oh, no, it's not because of this. And I just want to make sure before I move on that I haven't ruined something. So if I do this, there's no errors apart from. So this code should just. What am I missing? No, it won't do it. I'm typing my shortcuts that would. There we go. So I did have to restart my LSP for some reason. That was creating issues. And here I can come down and just use this. And maybe there's a more Keysalian way of doing this, but we'll just have to live with this for now. Where if I could just pass it in the entire object here, maybe that helps. So get turn, fine turn, refactored. Let's use a refactored code here. And pass in those params. And again, I'm happy to be explicit here. No need to be clever. Getting the turn, returning the turn. I need to modify that somewhere else as well, just above, but let me finish this function since I'm halfway through. And now I want to do an update. Thankful example for which I have here, and we use set. I already forgotten that it was set that we needed to use. So we're just going to update this in the database directly. And I'm okay to just write the code directly here, set answer state, where can I do updated at here as well? Will it accept it? And here, value switch data never. So there's no updated at for turns. Let me just make sure that the typing is there for it. Turntable, updated at is present, but there's a never, assuming that we never pass that value in. Is that right? Like there's no update value ever? And that doesn't make sense to me. Can I do this? Can I do this? And then can I do string undefined, column type is date, but it's represented as a string or undefined? Let me not do this for now, because again, this is one of the advantages of using an OverM, is it'll manage that for me, and it won't here. What I might have been able to do is to define the database updated ats here in the migrations, for example, to do some on update business. What something like this, but it didn't work when I tried it before. So maybe I can take a look at that later when it is pressing to do so. So for now, this is what we'll do. So we'll update the answer straight up in the database. So we don't have to do this. Now it is saved, presumably. And if the answer is incorrect, we want to set the player to inactive. So let's do that as well, straight into the database. And for some reason, it didn't pick up players. There we go. Set state inactive, yes. Where ID is this, yes, and execute. So we've done that, and we want to return the turn. And I'm actually happy to simply get the turn again. So const updated turn, await find turn, and we'll pass it the details here. And maybe now I feel like if I could just do ops input here and just get that data back. So we'll return the updated turn. I've changed a lot of code without testing it, but I'm okay with that because I'll just get that done in the flow of using the app again, which I have to do anyway. So nothing is lost just yet. Let's see if there's any other issues in this file up here. And let me just scroll through to see whether there's anything else that needs to be changed. So I have a mishmash here. I have a mix here of sort of using the module and updating using the database directly. I'm okay with that. And I think I have just about 15-ish minutes before Mary potentially joins us. Will I be able to wrap this up in that time? Stay tuned. So here, I want to do some cleanup. Player is not being used at all at this stage. So we'll go ahead and delete it. Turn is being used. No, I don't want to delete turn. Bro, come on. Turn is not going to be deleted. And user is not used at all. Either that was just an example file. It's not even part of my app yet. So now my modules are just game and turn. And then everything else is kind of in the router. And I'll extract that later as it becomes more relevant. Like even with turn, I extracted find turn when I realized I have to do it twice. And that's good enough. Will it blend? Let's see. I'm going to do a few more things actually before I go ahead and test this because I want some certainty. So I still have my old database here. So let's get rid of that. And then I also want to get rid of Sequelize in package JSON. So let's get rid of that, and let's get rid of that. I don't think we're using that either. And let's make sure that those packages are removed. And then I might do a pnpm build because I just want to see whether everything is fine. Like, does it build properly as if it was going to be shipped? And if it does, that means the removal of those packages is fine because there's no remaining code that's referencing them, and seems to have worked successfully, along with some warnings from Tailwind, which I do not care about. That pause there, which I do not care about. Was I considering it? Mildly, but not really. Okay, so I think we're ready to start the dev server up again. Get back to the browser and go through a run and play around with the details. An error has occurred. So the answer to that is no. And let's debug. How much time do I have? 13 minutes. Okay. This seems to be coming from. Yeah, of course. So I mean, I'm refreshing on this URL, which is nonsense because that data doesn't exist because we are using a new database. I'll also have at hand this very small print. I'm going to quickly take a look to see again if there's any bad eyes setting. Does not seem to be. Was worth another shot. But I'll want to see whether the players were entered. I want to see whether the games were created. So we're up to ID 4. I expect that next ID will be the next ID will be 5. So here I'm reviewing. I am starting the game, and already it does not work. So let's take a look at the console to see if there's anything revealing here. Not null constraint on player's icon. So my definition seems to be incorrect, and that didn't, my schema definition, and that didn't reveal itself because in my example that I had, I was always creating with an icon. So this is in players. So create players. Actually, another thing I can do before I move on is I can go ahead and delete the old migrations. Okay, icon not null, not true. It can be null. Adjective can be null. And ideally, that should be enough to make that work. And we will, we'll just get rid of the database, and we will migrate to latest. And that seems to have worked. And again, last time I ran into issues where when I deleted my database, I did not restart the server. And now we'll come back here fresh. And Mary Adnan, oops, winner. I just want to test with 3 players. Now my ID should be 1 if it works, and it doesn't again. Click. I'm going to click multiple times. No errors here. So maybe some issues here. So it seems like this went through, and there are no response headers. And let's just take a look at the payload. And in the payload, we are passing in the players as we would expect. So there does not seem to be an issue there. Just checking the time, 10 minutes. So let's go find this issue. It would be, so we are using create game. Let's see if the database has that information. So if I refresh here, will it? And if I click create again, I feel like this is referencing the memory version of the database that I had before. So I should try and open up a new one, and it does not seem like there is any data here. Keasley migration has that, games doesn't. So there was no creation, which means my router has a problem, and I'm looking at the create game endpoint. Cool. Create game with players. And then here, perhaps I can just make sure that we're here creating games with these players. And yeah, this is good because that error might be right up here up front, and I did not accommodate for that, though I would have expected an error to have been thrown, right? Like, oh, but did I even check the server logs? Let's do that here. Oops. No errors here, but also no logs. Which has me wondering. So let's log here. And when I submit, my ordering of my tabbing is all messed up. Let's clear that out. Let's start game. It's just pending. So it has not been received. Just trying to make sense of what might be happening here. So I know that my front end is functioning, but when I'm hitting TRPC, that is not functioning. And maybe that's related to me loading Keasley in, and I didn't notice this pending business before, which makes sense. That's why we don't have a preview. We don't have any response headers. 7 minutes. I'm checking the time, just almost as a pressure unit for me. But yeah, it doesn't seem like I'll probably won't be able to figure this out in the way that I want in that time. But that's fine. Let's just see if there's any relevant things here. I mean, could it be the case that this dot example is not precise? So we have SQLite path. Let me get these references, and perhaps, I mean, this is the only lead I have right now. So and we'll just make sure that this has run, and here we'll use SQLite path. I expected my I would have expected my autocomplete to have assisted me there, but not just yet. Maybe now it will. No, it just doesn't care. I can also I'll leave it. I can say if not this, throw a new error. And then hopefully the TypeScript here knows that it does exist. Seems like that is the case. Great, SQLite path, and that path is now I'm using development.SQLite3. So, and we'll modify that here as well. And we'll also just do a check here. Okay, so I mean, I've made quite a few changes here, and they're fairly risky. So let me go ahead and delete that example. It seems like I already got a development SQLite3 database now. Interesting. So that works. That's picking up. Okay, great. And now when I come back here, 4 minutes, submit. And now when I start game, no cigar, that wasn't it. Oh, I was hoping so badly that would be it. But no, we've made progress. So now I'm getting this, which means that we're closer. So that was it. That was that step. Fantastic. Now the next step is to see, okay, so creating game with players. That's this comment here. So we get here, let's console.log let's console.log the created game, whatever that is, right, at that point. And let's also do this. Maybe, I did a bit of modifying here where I didn't, the returning all and all that business I got rid of. So it's very possible that this is upset. And game found. All right, I'm ready to retest here. I'm happy we made the product. Like that was not a bad guess. Game created, players created. I mean, we actually don't know whether the players were really created because of the changes that I made. And maybe, so players created happens, but may find by game ID is not functional. And therefore this doesn't work. DB select from games where ID is equal to ID. Select all, take first. I want to see one additional thing. So let me, because I want to see how far it gets. And at this point, I don't know. Start game. So we are in this function, and so I know exactly where my issue is. It's here. And I really should get a debugger set up so I can maybe do some breakpointing business, but here we are. So I know right now precisely where my issue is happening. We have 1 minute remaining. So let me take a look at the select examples again. All columns off a table. Select from, but I want a 1 row. It doesn't like it. Yeah, I mean, I would have thought this would have worked because my database example code had precisely this. So where am I lacking here? So let's see. I mean, not only did game found not happen, it also did not throw an error, which, or over here. So nothing, like it just didn't come out of this. So, await DB, select from games where ID is equal to ID, select all, take first. All right, so let's just double test that. I need to change this to the right database. Oh, because I'm in my transaction. Is that why? That doesn't make sense. That does make sense. Okay, that does make sense. So I'm sort of, freewheeling my way around here. And my core problem is in this freewheeling dealing business, I do this inside the transaction, and that fails me. What I should be doing is this outside the transaction, and I don't really have a return. And I believe we have Mary here. So I will invite her. Mary, I feel like you can hear me. Can you add yourself to the stream? Like, could you have done it by surprise? I'm curious. You could. Okay. Hey, how are we doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm almost wrapped up here. I think I found one. So I'm sorry. I'm done most of the refactoring that I was focusing on doing, and I'm near the end, I believe. Like, I'm done most of the code, but I do need to run through the app and test whether all the pieces work, because I've changed a lot of code without doing any testing because I was doing so many structural changes. So I'm just going to try and wrap up my thought where it was, and then hopefully this works. And if it does, then I am at that point happy to hand over the reins to you. Okay, so here I go. And if this works, then I'll be satisfied. It does. Okay, so let me just go through a round very quickly. So game 1. Let's confirm that in the database that is there. And let's confirm that the players are also present in the database. Perfect. We have that. Let's start round 1 with Mary. 7 plus 4. What is it, Mary? 7 plus 4?
2.
That's incorrect. I'm sorry. Okay, so now I did incorrect. And if everything else is working in the code, and if I find a bug through this process, I'm not going to solve it. I feel like I've, done a decent part here. So I'll just run through a couple. So inactive worked. And now the next person is Adnan. And 9 plus 7 is correct. Whatever it is, it's correct. And okay, great. And then next up is Awesome Winner, who will also be correct. And then I finished my round. There's no more players in the round. And here Adnan starts this time around, and I will be incorrect. And let me just, make sure. Inactive, great. And in this case, I'm exactly where I was at the end of 2 days ago, 2 sessions ago, which is, hey, I have this concern where if everyone gets it wrong, do we continue the rounds? I think likely that's yes is the scenario there. And then dealing with the case where I have to end the game and show the last screen, because now we have that player business working. So I am 2 days behind in essence, because of the refactoring from yesterday and today. And welcome, Mary, to this session.
You're not behind. You're never behind.
I am. Let's be real. How are you?
I'm good. I just finished the snack, so I'm feeling refreshed.
I'm gonna do some production business here. I'm going to switch our cameras so it looks like we're looking at each other, because I'm pointed this way and you're pointed this way. And I don't want,
okay.
We're professionals.
Yeah.
We're going to look away, talk to each other while we're looking away from each other on screen. Come on.
That makes sense. Although now I'm like my eyes need to adjust to look at a different part of the screen.
All right. Hi.
Yeah, I did not watch. Admittedly, I did not watch the last stream. So
Wow.
if you have a TL, if you have a TLDR of what happened.
Yeah, I mean, functionally, we're now 2 streams ago, so you missed nothing technically, right? Like you can almost pretend that no progress has been made since you were last caught up functionally. But I was not thrilled with the choice in the database library that I made, so I decided yesterday to give it another chance in its sort of alpha version state, which I guess they're still working on it. I spent about, I want to say like an hour and a half just giving it a chance. It didn't work out. And so I switched to a different library, a much simpler, lower level library. And then I was able to spend the hour right before this. So I did some setup work yesterday, about half an hour or 45 minutes. And then 1 hour today, kind of catching up and finishing that process. So now functionally we are where we were a couple of days ago.
Cool. Sounds good. Is there, because now I'm starting to think about like visual design. And I know that there are things that we're kind of figuring out as it's being built. Like now we're thinking about like, oh, well, what happens when there are two people who, both get something wrong at the last minute?
Yeah.
And like there are things that are changing from what we initially scoped out, and I don't think it's an effective use of our time to like, do that wireframing again just to keep that updated. So I'm wondering, is there like a easy way for me to, test what you've built so far, so
I see
that
what you
I'm
mean.
not redoing work you've already done?
Got it. So yes, I'd have to deploy this somewhere on the global internet so you can play around with it. And maybe that's my next session is I can focus on getting this deployed. It's in a state where it can be played around with. But I feel like we're at a point where necessarily I don't know that from a design perspective yet that we have to worry too much about those edge cases that we've come up with. I feel like we have enough. And then once you have sort of a higher fidelity asset, let's just say, we're able to, we'll slip in a screen or we'll modify it. So yeah, I feel fine over there.
Okay, sounds good. My intention when I'm thinking about visual design is I want to like get started on some like brand personality stuff. I was gonna do that tomorrow actually, but since you're here, do you want to jump into it a little bit? Because I think like my process is also very like, especially for net new ideas, it's like it's very organic and messy, and I think it's supposed to be. So I would love to do more exploration at the start of maybe like just designing a different few variations of like the welcome screen, for example.
Yeah. Also, before you start though, you want to talk about messy. You will know messy once you see yesterday's.
Okay.
If you ever catch up on yesterday's stream, that was messy. So you should have no sort of issues with dealing with messy today. So
cool. So what I have here is just a really quick like FigJam board, and it's a branding exercise. So the first board is more just like what are some adjectives that we want to associate with the product. Like imagine if the product is a person, how would you describe them? These are just whatever FigJam's template came with. We don't have to use them, but it's more just like a starting point if nothing comes to mind. And then the second part is more thinking about like what we are and what we are not. usually this is a spectrum of like quiet versus loud, reliable versus I don't know what the opposite of reliable is, or
Right.
why any brand would want to be unreliable. But yeah. Oh, I guess it's here. Like I guess the first thing is just determining where we stand on the spectrum, and if there are any things that we feel strongly about. Like for example, I feel pretty strongly that we shouldn't be aggressive and we shouldn't be too serious.
Yes. But if I might introduce this idea, where I think it should still be competitive, right? Like ultimately it is, especially regardless of which format we go, there is this idea of a competition and you are competing with your peers.
That's true. So maybe it's what am I trying to get at? Like, I'm thinking like we're not gonna look like a very like Microsoft. I don't know why Microsoft comes to mind, but like.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. I think
the tone.
Yeah. Okay, that makes. Yeah, I think you can be competitive and not so serious in terms of the emotions that we want to convey through design and interface.
Okay. I like to start on the spectrum side of things because I find it easier than just pulling adjectives out of nowhere. I'm gonna pull this to the side because I added some inspiration over the last couple of days that we can also take a look at. But so I would love. I see what you did there.
Sorry.
So I would love to put a little. Oh, that's a huge circle. Little circles. Different colors. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Sorry, also like struggling with the shortcuts because I'm switching between like using Mac in my daytime job and then using my PC here, and I'm like, oh my god, gotta change like the shortcuts.
You're the whole Mac versus PC ad just within yourself.
I am. I probably will get a Mac device for personal use too.
Okay.
It's more just right now my personal device is the PC and my work device has been always Mac. So if you want to take a little dot of whatever color you want, and we can do this, and we can debate this as well, and just kind of place it where we feel on these spectrums. Yeah.
So just to confirm, and I understand, so I'm copying a dot. Like should I copy this dot and I place it somewhere on the spectrum?
Yeah, sure. You can duplicate it by doing like Command D.
And how do the reds and greens work?
For now, I'm just taking a color and being like, this is Mary.
Oh, got it. Sorry, I didn't see that because red and green I thought were sort of indicative of some emotional context.
Right.
Got it.
You're right. Let me. Would this be better? Is blue okay?
Got it. Yes, that works. Okay, so I take this and I place it in each. Okay, I actually don't know how to use Figma either, so.
Yeah, so you can select it and do Command D, I believe.
Yeah, so one thing that's not on your screen, but it is on mine. So when I try and move it, it kind of wiggles, indicating that it doesn't want to move.
Okay, one sec. Let's do this.
May I have some permissions, please? Please, sir.
I think you can. Have some... Can you try now?
Yeah, it's, I think, yeah, I see more. I see buttons as well. Can I, if I click on it? Oh, okay, interesting. I see arrows. Oh, wow. Sorry, I definitely don't want that. So that's fine. This is just me. Command D.
We're watching with none.
Wonderful.
learn FigJam live.
Yeah. I think I guess I'll just place my dot above yours as a power move, right, right aligned
Nice.
there. Okay, so yeah, I feel like it's gonna seem like I'm comping you, but I just happen to agree. And trust me, like I don't think.
Okay, you do the next one.
Yeah, exactly. So this to me is. Should I just do it, or should I try and discuss it before doing? Just how do you prefer the process?
It's up to you. Like
Yeah.
if you feel like talking about it can help.
Yeah. So I guess there's two ways to. So I want to make sure I'm in the right context. So definitely, I'd love for the experience to be simple. Like there's no sense of complexity. The contents may get complex depending on the level you're at, but I think where we're starting, like a grade 9 level, which already seems like. So I had my sister send me some grade 9 level evaluations from her school, and they're already more complex than I want to start with. So really, the use. So I'm going here for usage.
Yeah.
And then the game contents can be dependent on the user.
Yeah, I would agree. I think like when we think about, I'm gonna put my dot.
How does that feel? How does it feel? This is a power move.
I don't know. It feels very aggressive.
Okay, I'm glad that you're.
I got so excited that I didn't duplicate the dot.
Yeah. So I want to quickly share a tangential story, which I love sharing. So at work, sometimes I would have we're going to a meeting or we're in this common area at times, and I have my MacBook, my laptop closed, and it's on a table, right? So it's closed on a table, and certain people who work with me and reported to me actually felt comfortable enough to come in and place their laptop on top of mine for no reason whatsoever. There's plenty of space everywhere else. And I was like, I respect that. That's a power move. And I absolutely respect it. So
was there a pattern like outside of that one incident?
Probably, but I think nothing unwelcome. But I was surprised. It such pleasantly surprised me that they would take that action, and I was like, I respect it. Who's doing the next one?
Please go ahead.
So interestingly enough, here I want to put it. I kind of want to put a little bit on the aggressive side, even though we were here and we said we don't want aggression. Because I'm either debating between right down the middle or a little bit here. Because I'm just double checking myself. Should it be centered? Exactly. Because I'm trying to level it with the energetic essence. And sometimes that's interpreted or brings some aggressive energy that isn't bad. It's not bad aggression if that's the case. It's kind of just like involvement, like higher level of like, oh, I'm trying to get at the competitive nature. And if this said competitive, I would have put this maybe like here.
We can change the spectrum.
Okay, yeah.
I agree. I feel like the competitiveness is what makes it more engaging.
Yeah.
So I almost want to put it further.
Yeah, I want to come at like whoops. Okay, sorry. I'm okay. Yeah. Oh wow. Okay. Is that exactly aligned, or is that?
Wait, what?
Are you exactly where I am, or are you like you're even further off than me?
Oh. I think like for me, I think competitive is what makes it fun, at least for the first iteration. Yeah. But I can definitely see maybe there is a more chill, like, how some games have like a Zen mode.
Yeah.
Like, I think there could be maybe opportunities down the line where it's more on the laid back side
Yeah.
for those of us who are not as competitive.
So it's interesting because we spoke before about sort of classic mode. We spoke about um,
Trivia mode, yeah.
trivia mode, which is at the same time, and I only imagined that even being more competitive than classic mode, right? Like I imagine that being more aggressive, shall we say, right? No, competitive. We spoke about one-on-one, which I still feel is like fairly competitive. And so a thought that just emerged here is what about like single player mode, which is sort of
Yeah,
this like play idea. So now it's really kind of like I'm moving at my own pace. I can go stronger if I want, right? I'm practicing.
like
So it
practice
just kind
mode.
of becomes practice mode where it's you're answering all the questions. It's just you. It's like you're taking a quiz or a test all by your own and assessing how. So it is like it's not a B at all anymore in that case. But I
Mhm.
feel like that is something I'd be like, hey, can I just practice? Can I just get a sense of the questions that I'm getting? I like that. It becomes a legitimate learning tool than just a competition tool.
Yeah, I like that too. Like for those of us who like homework.
Yeah, I'll say as well. I don't know I'm going on a bunch of tangents, but you'll note that I've done everything on stream. Like I have not written a single line of code off stream. So I'm loving the idea of no homework for me. And I think my internal goal is to try and do as much as possible on stream if I can.
Cool. And then the last one, I don't know if expensive is the right word. I think about it as like if you're meeting, like if you're seeing this product, like do you feel like it's like this fancy thing? And, okay, you go first.
Really, how dare you? I wanna be somewhere around here. I think
Oh,
I'm
you
not
want to
too
be
fancy,
fancy?
but I want because it also depends how you define fancy. So first, I want to leave that ambiguity of definition. I want to see where you place it, and then we can sort of discuss our definitions.
I was gonna place it a little bit to the left.
Okay, all right. And maybe here it's worth defining what we both thought by fancy. What did you imagine?
I imagine like the experience of like getting more tailored tailored to their specific uses. So I'm thinking about like both the experience of players as well as teachers. I think for players it's a lot easier to lean towards like the more basic because I don't think it needs to like convince them that this is the platform to use or
I see.
anything. But for teachers, I guess one, I don't really know what teachers care about, so it's hard to place, which is why I'm more towards the middle. Um, but I would also assume that the other aspects of a product is more important than perceived fanciness.
Yeah. Just a note, Mary. It seems like there's some feedback on your mic that's flowing into my ears. Um, and maybe I'll take a quick minute here to define what I thought by fancy. Is to me, it's kind of the frills. I don't want too many frills, but I do want some frills. Like I want the bee to be animated and be hovering at some points. And to me that's fancy. Versus if there was no bee or if there was no movement, I would consider that basic and kind of. And so that's the context I was thinking, and I think what's missing here in that spectrum is for me is like fun. So like the serious fun spectrum, and that's sort of I guess where I was imagining basic and fancy. Basic is not necessarily serious, but I want some frills. Like it's not no frills for sure.
Speaking of no frills, are we good to like mention random brands?
Is that I don't see why not.
So I love no frills as a brand. This is such a side tangent.
Yeah.
But a while back, it's been a couple years actually, during the like peak pandemic, they released an album, like music album, with like so many good hits. And I would highly recommend it. There's a song called Bananas, and it's a great rap song. But
I'm sorry, no, I need more details. Sorry, I just need to understand what's just happened here. So you're telling me that during pandemic times,
yes,
No Frills, like when you say release, did they produce the songs as well? They wrote and recorded and produced the songs themselves?
Well, I don't know. I'm probably giving false information, but
Okay.
in 2020, they
Yeah.
like released an album called Hauling State of Mind. It has 12 tracks. The most, I think, popular one is the Bananas song, which is just bananas. And then they also had a song called A Cart Apart, which is about like how you're supposed to like leave space a cart apart during the pandemic.
Okay, I guess we will share the link in the comments. That's the first time I'm ever saying that, but now we have to, in the comments or in the description, you must share that link. So
yeah, and I do apologize for my microphone as well. Maybe I will need to invest in an actual microphone.
I was going to suggest that to you off stream, not even because of this, but just in general. I was like, you know what? Maybe it's professional microphone time.
We gotta be professional.
Yeah.
Cool. What were we talking about? Fancy.
What fancy meant and why I went on this side, because I don't want it to be all frills, but I want it to be, frilled up a little bit.
Okay, yeah, I think that makes sense. I was thinking about it more like not necessarily how frilly we build it, but more just thinking about like how it's presented, how it makes you feel as a customer, as a user. So like if you open the app, do you feel like, oh wow, like, I'm gonna get a premium treatment or something? Or is it more about like it's delightful? I guess it's a different spectrum than this in particular.
It's interesting because this is like it's not even a thought in my mind at this stage anyway, of the kind of, I guess, the prestige aspect, I guess, that the app may or may not represent is like, I actually don't even care what the user thinks about it at this stage anyway. I'm like, I don't so if that's the case, then I'm then I'm like, where am I? I'm gonna be off of the grid. I'm like, I don't care.
Okay, so this is a spectrum we don't care about.
No, I mean, you might. I mean, I feel like if you care about it, you should. But it's from my perspective, I'm like, not a concern for me at this stage.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's why I put it in the middle.
In the middle,
I think it could go either way.
Right.
Like if we learn more about what teachers care about, then I might have a stronger opinion.
Because there's multiple aspects to this, and I think it's worth discussing briefly at the very least, which is, I think, it depends on what the purpose of the fanciness or the basicness is. Like, what purpose or need are we serving? And maybe it's a need that teachers have. Maybe it's a need that we have. So, for example, if it was the case that, we are selling this as a product, let's say, then maybe some amount of fanciness, whatever that means, is necessary in order to accomplish sales, right?
Yeah.
And then that becomes, if I then cared about the selling part, then fanciness would be important to me in the way that you're defining it. So right now it's sort of undecided or yeah, don't care, undecided kind of range.
Okay, yeah, I think that makes sense. I've definitely been like worked with companies where I think basic is also just a poor, poor like spectrum word in this case. But I've definitely been at companies where you know the initial brand is more fun and like bright colors, and then
Yeah.
later as the product evolves, there is more need for presenting like prestige and like seriousness.
Yeah.
But
I mean, at the same time, if you did have a seriousness and fun spectrum, I would lean towards the fun aspect, right?
let's do that. I don't know how to. Okay, so this is a template, and it's not always happy with templates that I want to modify. Serious. Max.
Oh wow,
Max
wow.
fun.
I'm actually gonna go here. You know, I'm gonna temper myself. Is I think this also is sort of, I think it should be on the funner side, the serious side for me, of course, of course, of course. But I'm not certain yet how much fun. And so I sit here on the fun side, but I like where no, like a bit closer, but not much more. Let's go here. There we go. That's sort of my fun range. But you've yeah, you're fun to the core, fun to the max. Got it.
Yes. Yes. I don't know. I think like if it's not fun, people are not going to use it. Then
Yeah. I mean, I think that I'm okay at some level. I'm also okay where if it's like we should make it fun even if people don't use it because it's fun. If that makes sense. You know, like I think we should build half of it is we should build what we want, and the other half of it is we take into consideration what other people want, because you know, like why else are we doing this if we don't get to do what we want as well?
yeah, we're not getting paid. No, I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
except in friendship.
Yes, yes, can't forget that. I'm actually okay with not doing the rest of these. Maybe
Okay.
the adjective one, if there are anything that comes to mind, but I'm not too. I like this one.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind. Here, I'm gonna do some fig jamming if I can. Look at this. Look at this. Okay, and then I'm gonna make this smaller so it kind of fits in. So really, it's just a, oh, that's an oval. Ugh. Nobody likes ovals. What is that? There we go. That's a circle. I'm gonna make mine super small so I can fit it, like I could be in there. Sorry, I don't see
does
that.
it need to be so tiny?
Yes. Otherwise, you can keep yours the same size. Honestly, I like this. This is also a power move. Love it. Love it. I mean, I do want loudness in certain cases as well. And really, to me, loudness just means engagement.
Ooh, one common thing that a lot of these processes um, it can help is like limiting the number of things you want to like vote on, so that you can't be everything. So I would say maybe stick to like, I don't know, 3.
3? Oh my god. Okay. All right. All right. Let me quickly take a look at what else we have here. So I guess I pick energetic over loud in that case, because I saw loud first, and then traditional, futuristic, calm, expensive. Yes. But only in terms of concrete money, like, you know. But elegant, masculine, feminine, aggressive, laid back, innocent, no. Reliable, also no. So I have one more dot, right? I'm just trying to quiet, subtle, traditional, complex. I think I'd put it in simple from my perspective. Simple, fun, and energetic. Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, I think I'm pretty aligned. I want to make a case for eccentric because I am a big believer in like having a personality. Okay, that came out really weird. But having like a personality that's not average, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's the case for eccentricity.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think, in earnest, I don't think you need to make a case. I feel like you should just do it. You should just, and then I think that's one of the advantages of this context is like, even though we may align on something or agree or disagree on something, you could still just do what you want, and then deal with the consequences and the discussion that comes afterwards. I'm actually super comfortable with that because I feel like you should, in a sense, feel free to force the subject of the things that you want as well. So no case required. Just do it.
Cool. All right. I started putting together like just some bee colors that remind me of the bee. And I don't think I'm going to do too much on the brand side before jumping into like just some designs. What I've done here is more just taking some inspiration of other dynamic games that I've played in the past in group settings. They are not educational games in all cases. These two, the first two, Gartic Phone and Scribble, are ones that I played a lot at work with different groups, and it's they're pretty fun. The onboarding process I've always found for Gartic Phone is kind of complicated.
Yeah.
Like I always go like, wait, how do I, I'm like, is this like, am I anonymous? Like what's happening here?
Yeah.
But they are.
If you don't mind, Mary, just for production purposes, if you can zoom into.
Yes.
And I guess I'll do this every so often because when you're the non-driver, tends to see these things a bit more easily than the person who's driving. So thank you. Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so this is Gartic Phone. It's like a drawing telephone game. So how it works is one person will write a statement like the monkey is jumping over, I don't know, a car or something, and then pass it to the next person who will try to draw that, and then pass it to the next person who will try to describe what they see, etc., etc. And it's a pretty fun game.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to hold back some of my feedback maybe until you describe some of the games because I have certain thoughts when I see and emotions when I see these screens, and so I'll hold back until you're done.
Yeah, like the purpose of me gathering inspiration is less about like the game mechanics and more about just seeing how they handle introducing a game, and also like some of the mechanism, like just like a randomly generated avatar, that's kind of neat. Cool. And also just like how they convey a personality through interface.
Yeah.
The next example is Scribble, very basic like interface, which I love. Like you just enter a name and you start. You can create a private room or you play with random strangers online. And the game is also just like, it's like Handman, except you're drawing things. Although It's been a while since I played that, so I might I might not be describing it right. And I looked at this example because of like the round structure of like how they handle, taking the time and like how do players engage with each other, and how do you convey like whose turn it is, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay, I'm still holding my feedback.
And then the last I don't know why I brought. Why is there? Okay, this is not supposed to be here. And then there's like Codenames, which is a board game, and somebody
Yeah.
created it online. I have not played this a lot online, but it's it's a kind of a more old-fashioned welcome screen, if you will, where it tells you step by step how to play before you start playing. And then there's also an app, which is kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last example I looked at, which was a reco from my sister, who is a
Ooh.
teacher, is something called Kahoot. You may or may not have heard of it.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the engine behind a lot of trivia games,
Interesting.
and it's definitely something worth looking at. I don't think it's exactly in the realm of what we're trying to build, but it's in the same category, I would say.
Yeah. It looks that way. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I liked how simple some of their interface design is. Like, for example,
Yeah.
you can't tell from here, but the left number is like a timer that counts down, and then the
Got it.
right number is like how many people submitted their answers. And yeah, I think most of these games are online games, so not immediately applicable to what we're building for version 1. But I wanted to just dump them somewhere so that I can
Yeah.
reference them as I start thinking about the visual design.
Okay.
You had thoughts.
I do have thoughts. So, I mean, I have thoughts in multiple directions here. I think just initially, and I haven't played this game, so I'm sort of my feedback is really just purely visual. Is I feel like there's so much going on the screen, and it immediately gives me a vibe that's more weird than fun. Oddly enough, I think they're trying to go for fun and sort of like colorful in certain ways, but I'm not receiving that just looking at it. There's something definitely, yeah, there's a lot going on here. There's something to be said about, and maybe I'll save that thought for later. But yeah, definitely a lot going on. And I find sometimes that some of this stuff is also hard to read just based on the contrast. Because again, you're trying to balance some of this idea of like fun and colors, because we think kids like that. And I trust we do. I'm not just saying we think like, okay, kids like colors. But I think my challenge here to myself and maybe to you as well is there room for childish elegance? Let's just say. So we don't want something to be too elegant, quote unquote, that adults might expect. But I think sometimes we devalue what children may actually like or not like, because they're like, is there some room for what childish elegance means? And can we try and achieve that? I don't even know what that looks like, honestly. So those are just two words I'm putting together.
I'm just gonna put that as a sticky somewhere because I like that as a theme, I guess.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna probably put that on the brand board at some point.
And then if we, if we go even down to the script, I think here like immediately I thought I like this simply, but I also found it maybe because it's zoomed out. I was like, okay, this is hard to read, but otherwise it seems fine. There is a lot of contrasting colors, so it's really also kind of hitting my attention scale weirdly. But again, I'm not a kid anymore, and I don't recall. I think even as a kid, I was probably just like I'm like, what, like I don't imagine as a kid I looked at this and said, oh yeah. Like, I feel like this is, oh no, this totally makes sense. That hit it. I thought I was going to say this is a box of crayons. And then I was like, this is exactly what the app is. Okay, good job. Scribble. That's exactly what you're doing. No problem. Perfect. But what I do really like here, and I kind of want to even suggest this earlier, but I didn't. I held back on it because I didn't want to necessarily guide the things too much, is I like the player list being there, and you kind of know I'm 2 away. And I don't know how, because we have the next up thing, and here I'm sort of, both like 2 ways about it. I think it might be the completely wrong decision because it's, again, too much on the screen. At the same time, my heart says, oh, I want to see, like, I want to know who's up 2 rows from now. But again, but I really like that being available for sure.
Yeah, I like that too. I like how, like, it's out of the way, but it's like if you do want the information, you can look at it.
Yeah. And it's yeah, I think that's interesting because in some interfaces, I know there's like this idea of centralized, but they're adjacent things as well. Because sometimes we try and fit everything in the panel, right? But that's not necessarily how things need to be, and things can be adjacent to the panel, and your brain automatically says, "Oh, I don't need to." That's an advertisement space. I don't need to look at that unless I need to look at it, and we can still focus on the central space for usage purposes.
Yeah. Because all of these examples are online games, when I'm looking at this, I'm thinking about like, okay, like while this is not really relevant, like submitting an answer live is not really relevant to us right now. I'm thinking about like how can we make space for it down the line.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, like if I'm visualizing like the main question interface covering like the majority of the real estate, but down the line we can say like we can steal some of the real estate for interactivity things down the line.
Well, I mean, I don't want to almost push you further and say I think it's a different context, because I don't think necessarily the real estate for classic mode needs to be the real estate at all for trivia mode, and it becomes a different flow and experience. So I don't think necessarily that we need to try and fit trivia into classic either. Like we might at the end of like later on, but definitely if we're going down a trivia mode angle. And I'll tell you this, like if you design a trivia mode, I will try and build it 100%. Like, because I also felt bad again for to be like, no, don't want to think about that. But at the same time, because this is for fun, if you design it, I will try my utter best to build it. But also, that I'm 100% unreliable as a human being. So, just I just say words.
You've been like showing up every day on the stream.
That's true.
Pretty good record so far.
Yeah. I will also add code names. I actually built a version of code names.
What?
During sort of early pandemic times. So I think there's the official code names thing, which I think what we're looking at. There was a popular code names app that my friends were sharing with me, and I saw being shared online. That wasn't official. That was just like some person made it and shared it, and it kind of caught fire because of the context that we were in at that time. And I did not love the interface of it. And so, because there's certain elements to code names that I feel are important, and maybe those are present in the official game. I never played the official game, but I really wanted to have the idea of like I wanted to know who I'm playing against, like who signed in, which that simple game didn't have. You kind of had to like trust people. I wanted to know who was like, if it's my team, I want to make sure that they can only be one spy, or I don't remember like what the nomenclature of the game is, but so all of that was visually present in my game. Like you had to enter your name to enter, and it was live, like so very much like what trivia mode would be like. There's you press something and it instantly changes on everybody's screen kind of thing. So I had those because I was like, I don't like this interface, and I want to build an interface that I can be happy with. So I built it, and I played with my friends a couple of times, and that was it. And that game is no longer online anywhere. and I don't know if I don't know where the code is. I don't know if I saved like a video or a screenshot. If I can find it, I will share it
What?
with you.
Yeah. If you find it, share it next time.
Yeah, it wasn't perfect. There were like a bunch of issues, but it showed you things like, and I liked it. Even though I built it.
Yeah.
And the last one here, I really like the of a numeric timer, not over necessarily a bar timer, but
Mhm.
maybe in conjunction with as well, because just the idea of like, because in different environments, and again, this is just me talking out of like thin air, so I might be completely wrong about my conception. And again, I'm happy to have this tested in the future somehow. Is like, I like the idea of like, if a game gets pretty competitive, depending on what because sorry, I know I'm not completing a sentence because I'm collecting my thoughts as I'm speaking it. But I think as much as you try and build a personality into a product, the ultimate experience of that personality is in relation to the people that are using it at that time, right? And so I would imagine certain classes where it is being taken a bit seriously, some classes where it is more aggressive, some classes where it's more fun. And I don't mean aggressive as in like just anger aggression, but I mean like, what if other students started counting down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? Is a thought I have. It's like, I think that would be a no-no in certain classrooms where they'd be like, hey, let me focus. But other classrooms, maybe that's part of the game, and the classroom has created this, even though none of it is built into the interface or the game itself. And that's why the thought was like, oh, I want to be able to see the number, and that leaves room for people to then do what they want.
Yeah, I like it. I think when I see the number, I think about like, oh, like, do people really care about like if it's 90 seconds, let's say, the 90, 89, 87?
Yeah.
I skipped the number. So I think about like, okay, maybe it's a more like, maybe it's a clock that shows the general time until a certain point, maybe like the last 30 seconds or something is counted.
And I'm happy to start off either way. Like, I'm happy to actually start off with purely bar, and like you get feedback on what people feel about it, and how people react to it. On this interface, I like what's interesting is, I think, and I don't know how they manage colors otherwise, but it's very legible. Like, I love how legible this is versus what we think kids like interfaces. And versus this, where maybe it's a bit too structured for children, maybe, I don't know, but definitely it's so legible for both children and adults that I really like that aspect of it. The clarity, and the colors don't clash. I feel like in others there's like a clash of colors for some reason, but here the colors are like, there's enough contrast, and the colors don't overpower. But really, because I guess they have a basic blue, white, black thing going on the top 2/3, but in the bottom is where all the colors are located. So yeah, although this does feel a little bit on the more professional side, right?
It does. I do like the symbols too, for like, so that people are not relying entirely on the color. But again, this is more like online.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Accessibility.
Yeah. Okay. I think I'm feeling pretty good. I thought I was going to do some live designing. Admittedly, I think I'm running out of brain juice.
Okay,
So I will probably do that tomorrow.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think next time we meet, which is tomorrow, what I would love to do is I will be doing a informal conversation with a teacher contact of mine. Let me stop sharing my screen. I'll be doing. I did that, I think.
Awesome. Yeah, you did. I did not touch it. So
okay. I will be doing an informal conversation with a teacher friend of mine who happens to also teach the same, I think, age range as as your sister,
Oh,
which
okay.
is kind of neat. And I just want to learn a little bit about like what are some tools that you currently use to like engage the classroom in a more like fun way. Like what have you tried in the past, both online, offline, digital, analog, like just any activities that facilitate both learning and fun. I don't have specific like interview questions or anything like that, but I want to come back and share a little bit of like learnings tomorrow.
Cool. Awesome. Looking forward to that. And looking forward to the live designing as well. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. How do we want to like manage like time?
How do you mean?
Given there are many things we could be doing. Like we could, you could continue on the coding front. I have like some designing stuff to do, a little bit of like synthesizing, learning, and sharing them. So I'm just thinking about like how do we want to use our time next?
How do you want to use our time? Let's start there.
I think the learnings don't block anything. So happy to share them at a different time. Arguably, I think the design probably also doesn't block your progress, unless you think otherwise. Okay. So I'd love to get my hands on what you've built so far, so that I can like start. Because like sometimes like when you're clicking on things, ideas come more organically.
Okay, so I guess here's where I'm with that is it's a bit of work to deploy it, but I actually want to do that work on screen if I can, just kind of aligning with my goals of just doing as much as possible live. But then I also feel like because I've been like streaming every day, my question is, do I want to use the Friday time? I feel like I'm happy to, right? Like if that's what you need. I'm trying to think.
Because I think it's definitely valuable to see how that's done.
The deployment aspect, because I don't even know how. Like I haven't even thought about it at all. I haven't even thought about what I'm going to use, how I'm going to do it. So I'm just questioning whether I should do discovery live or whether I should kind of do some discovery and then execution live. But also, I'd love to get some design content live as well. So let me see if I can't do a random in-between stream, because I'd love for the Friday portion to be sort of just guided by you and for you to go in that direction, whatever you want to take it, right? Like, and do with it. And maybe part of that is you playing around with the interface and then leveraging that to do it. So I'm going to find maybe some time between now and
no, please.
And no, I will. No, it is. Pressure's on. If you ever go back and watch for the first half of today's stream, pressure's on. I was talking about pressure every so often. So it's too late, I think. And I'm going to try and find the time to do that because I want to, I guess, in some sense, give you what you want maybe as fast as possible. And to me, like the idea of like the 4 to 6 is prime time, right? Like these are in-betweens and that's the prime time. And I want to use prime time for hopefully more design stuff.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I will look forward to that.
Okay, awesome.
All right. Well, I think that's it for today.
All right, let's
silence.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, folks. If you're watching live, I don't know if people are watching live. We didn't have like a constant comment stream today, but if you're watching later, thank you for watching, and we will see you in the main primetime episode. Thank you for joining us for this session of Product Like It's Friday, even though it's Thursday. I just feel like I need to say like a lot of those words because I enjoy saying that over and over. So we'll see you soon. Good night.